so excited to have Mason Vi, a talented newcomer in the world of bluegrass, in studio today. How you doing, Mason?
Howdy. How's it going, y'all? To everybody, all the listeners out there, good morning, and happy to be here, buddy.
Oh, man, it's so exciting that you could swing by. I know we had reached out to the team, I think when you were playing in Newport, Kentucky, and it didn't work out on the travel schedule, but Maria reached out and was like, hey, it's going to route perfectly to have him pop by on this Friday. We planned this a couple months ago. I'm like, great. Mason's coming through town. We want him on the air.
Yes. And I'm playing tonight, actually, in Indianapolis, which, how far away is that from here?
We have listeners in Richmond, Indiana, Eastern Indiana. We reach out into there. Of course, people listen online everywhere. But
all right.
Yeah, we have
if you're listening out there,
Indiana,
come on out tonight. There's still tickets left at the Lo-Fi Lounge. I'm opening up for my country Commodore over there, Mr. Logan Ledger, and he's a crooner from days gone by. He's got one of them voices that just sounds so sweet like butter.
Mason, the high energy on There Goes Another One, and you were talking about off air how you kind of got caught trying to do the police chatter over the radio with nothing to fall back on, no resource or safety net for you on that one. They just kind of threw you in the deep end on that, right?
Oh, well, we were just having fun in there. I think it was like somebody was planning to go and do some wild break over top of that whole jam section, and then we were kind of just messing around in the studio wondering what something like this would maybe sound like, and then we were going to put something over top of that, and then it just ended up sounding great as it was, and so we kept it. Everybody, all the guys in the studio that day, and the producer Aaron Ramsey, he said, "No, we ain't cutting that out. That's funny. That's a party. You got to bring." And I really do think with bluegrass, especially, you think about the roots of this music, and you got to bring a little fun to it. You got to bring a little shuck and jive.
You bring so much energy to the stage and to the studio with your recordings. You mentioned that kind of party feel from days gone by. Why do you think it's important to kind of bring that back and kind of have some invigorating sounds and some entertaining style and flair to your brand of bluegrass?
Oh man, it's like I'm just busking on the street corner everywhere I go, man. You got to keep it alive. And, I think you just got to – I mean, this music, people spend their whole year working hard, and they might get one night off to come out and listen to some music or have some fun, and you gotta make it a good time for them. You got to bring everything. You got to make them laugh, cry, and dance and scream, hallelujah.
Your high energy and high-octane brand of bluegrass and musicianship – definitely went right hand in hand with Old Crowe Medicine Show, who you worked for a few years with. What was that experience like, and what are some lessons you learned from your time on the road with Old Crowe?
Oh, man, yeah. I learned a lot from Mr. Ketch Secord there, the co-writer of Wagon Wheel. And, yeah, to quote him on that, he, like we were just talking about the CB section there to all y'all hamvention goers out there who might be going, hey, what? Maybe he didn't do that exactly right, but so like Ketch he's got that eponymous line, and they're west of the Cumberland Gap, and it's actually east, I think. Yeah. And then you ask him, you're like, well, hey, why is that? And he said, well, it just sounded better. So sometimes, you just throw something in because it sounds better. But yeah, those boys just learned you got to go out there and you got to give it all you can every night. 110% to the stage and flip that switch on, as they say. No matter what's going on, if you're hungover or you just got some bad news from somebody about a breakup, who knows what it could be potentially. You got to go out there and you give the crowd what they came for, and you have some fun with everybody.
It is fun, but how tiring and taxing is that to have to feel like you flip that switch on and off? Like I said, even in the evenings where maybe you don't really feel like it, but you feel like you owe the crowd that. How tiring is that?
Oh, man. Well, I think everybody.
I'm trying not to have like a pity, but
man,
that's a unique perspective that a lot of people don't think of.
I just try to be grateful, man. Seriously, because I could be working some desk job somewhere or doing something for somebody that I don't want to do, but I get to go out and hang out with all folks and have a party every night, basically. That's my job, and so you start to look at it that way and go, well, I'm pretty lucky. And so thank y'all for everybody who's been listening.
chat with Mason Vi here on Real Roots Radio. Now, Mason, we were chatting off air as well that you kind of grew up hanging around bluegrass, and that there was a certain time in your life where the tides of trends changed to where it became a little bit cooler or in vogue to listen to music with a banjo. So why don't you chat about that time in your life and how empowering that was, especially someone that grew up hanging around bluegrass?
Yes. So when I was growing up, Dad is an award-winning songwriter and bluegrass artist. He had this band called WBZI and Corn Tornado. And if you don't know what a corn tornado is, it's when you grab a jar of moonshine and you spin it around to test the proof there. And when you see the little bubbles coming out, that's how the frog eyes is what some people in the hills call it. That's the mountain way of testing the proof there. But and so that's probably why I'm named Mason, honestly. But where was I going with this? No. Oh, anyway, but when I was young, I remember thinking, oh, that's just old people music, or that's Dad's music. And I'm sure other people had this kind of, we were just talking about how you had a similar kind of thing growing up, and you want to fit in with the cool kids in the crowd. And as you get older, you accept where you come from and your culture, and you're happy to embrace it. And a band like Old Crowe Medicine Show, who I got to be a member of, was actually part of that experience of me when I was about 12 years old, or maybe a little younger than that, which kind of got me into thinking, oh, banjos and fiddles and this kind of acoustic music, it's actually pretty cool and people dig it, and it can be popular.
With bands like Old Crowe Medicine Show, the Avett Brothers, Mumford & Sons, I think that's what sparked our conversation, was hearing new Mumford & Sons recording. When those three in particular really kind of hit the scene and kind of brought banjos and fiddles and kind of put them out front and mainstream and made it kind of cool to listen to more rootsy music, and showed that it's not just for, like you said, just for old people.
Definitely.
It kind of made it a little more empowering to turn that banjo up when you had J.D. Crowe or the Osborne Brothers or the Lone Swimmers Band.
Now I get mad if I don't hear enough banjo, I tell you. And it's kind of an addiction. I need to maybe go to Banjo Lovers Anonymous, and maybe that's what this is right here, right now.
Mason Vi, your new album, self-titled project, sophomore release on Mountain Fever Records, comes out to April the 25th, a street date, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Why don't you tell us about, sophomore albums can be tricky. Mm-hmm. So what sort of mindset did you have putting songs together for this new project?
Well, this album, in a lot of ways, feels like it's my debut release, just because I kind of recorded that other album, New Horizons, on a lark, and then didn't really get to fully promote it because I had, before, jumped straight into joining Old Crowe Medicine Show right after recording that. And this one, it's the first one where I'm actually getting to go out and tour and play all the songs live and really flesh them out and get to see the reactions of how it is for people to hear it live and experience it that way. And I had built up the songs over years of time, some of them for a while back, and then some of them wrote basically right before going into the studio. And so, that's why I named it Mason Vi, self-titled, because I felt like it was a pivotal turning point. I had this experience, almost like a college degree, of being in Old Crowe Medicine Show for over 3 years. We recorded a few albums, got nominated for a Grammy, got to play wild stages like Red Rocks, the Grand Ole Opry, and even tour in other countries. And the biggest show we did was for over 60,000 people, opening up for Luke Combs. So that was
That's
wild
one.
Yeah, at the Eagles Stadium. That was huge. So having all that experience under my belt and working with a band that big, I'm still young, so I'm taking that into this, and I'm going to build up something, and hopefully y'all can join along for the ride.
Going whole hog, Mason Vi's solo career, and really going all in on this new sophomore project from Mountain Fever Records. You mentioned producer Aaron Ramsey. Aaron's respected musician and producer in the world of bluegrass. What sort of insight did he bring into the recording studio when you're making this new album?
Man, I really respected Aaron's picking and his musical sensibilities, because he had worked on very traditional bluegrass recordings. I mean, I think he toured some with Tony Rice and had definitely had a sense of what the tradition is and what modern bluegrass listeners are digging and all that kind of stuff. But he also played with Mountain Heart and toured with them for a while, and I thought that was a very progressive band.
Yeah.
And I was a huge fan of the early Mountain Heart, and then loved what Josh Schilling has done with it too. But so I thought, this would be a great guy.
Can have like both.
You get a little bit of both worlds. And Mark Hodges, the head over at Mountain Fever, he had suggested Aaron, and I didn't know. I'd met Aaron, but we didn't know each other super well. But he was great in the studio because I gave him basically almost 100 songs, and he said, "You're going to have to whittle that down a little bit, man."
Help me out, son.
And I whittled it down to about I want to say at least 60 or 50 maybe, and then he helped me choose the 10 on here. So I played them all acoustic. And
it's still a pretty daunting task
it
there
was.
to whittle that down.
It was me, him, and my buddy Brian Mabe, who's a bluegrass buddy back in North Carolina, who we well, I'll talk about him later, maybe. But so and then my new wife, Waverly. I just got married.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
By
I
the way.
just got married 2 months ago, rocking the wedding ring here.
There you go.
Yeah, buddy. And wrote a song actually for my wife, Waverly, on this new album, Fireball. That one's if you're looking for another one to play or something, that might be a good one. Yeah.
We might have you perform that one later. If that's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. Of course. Can do. Yeah.
You talk about your songwriting. You said your dad is a songwriter. So when did you first start kind of following in that path on trying to craft your own songs?
I think I was about 11 years old, and I took a bunch of these nursery rhymes, basically, and patched them all together. It was called Jack O' Boy. And let's see, something like... I was so young then. I think my voice has changed, so I don't know if I can still hit those notes now that I'm trying to remember it. But it went something like Jack and Jill went up the hill, fetch a pail of water. And then, there was another one about Jack and Jill sitting in a tree. And then there's something about the chorus lines, Jack, oh boy, love is not a toy. And I said, I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good,
Pretty deep for an 11-year-old. What were you going through in 5th and 6th grade?
Oh, I had this old girl in my acting class when I was about 8 years old, and I had young love.
Going from touring with Old Crow Medicine Show, going whole hog with this album, and going on tour to support it, is that kind of daunting for you? I mean, like I said, I know you learned a lot from Old Crow Medicine Show, but kind of really going a new frontier out there. How daunting is that?
Sometimes I listen to David Goggins talk, and then I'm just like, I get all ready to go. I'm just like, I ain't going to complain about nothing. I'm just going to get out here and go for it. That's how I think about it, man. And I'm excited, really, because I just get to go out here and meet so many new friendly folks in parts of the world that I've never been to, and I really try to, as much as I can, take a step back and think, how many people get to do this, to get to go on a musical adventure, so to speak, basically across the country and into all these towns of America, and get to really experience what America is, and see pieces and parts of it that I would never have normally been to. So I'm loving the touring aspect of it. And then people are, singing along, clapping, and having fun at the shows too. So we're making new friends.
You mentioned the touring aspect. Of course, the album doesn't come out until April 25th, but you've already had pretty rigorous tour schedule to start 2025. You said you're on tour with your pal Logan Ledger. What's that experience been like? You said he's more of a crooner in the country style, and you bring your bluegrass singer-songwriter sensibilities to that. What's that pairing been like out on the road?
It's been great because I think people, I kind of get the crowd riled up, so to speak, and then Logan comes in with kind of his country crooner, more laid-back approach. He's kind of like Willie Nelson meets Roy Orbison, and I think it's a great pairing because it is both like different avenues of the collective genre of country music, the ever broadening term that defines. But I think it's a good pairing. But tonight in Indianapolis is the last show of that tour, so it's going to be sad to see him go. We've been singing Ripple as a duet, country style,
cool,
every night, and that's been a lot of fun. And now I'm about to go on tour with Sierra Hull.
Oh, fun.
And I think we're playing not too far from here, around somewhere. I'm trying to remember the dates.
I think you guys are playing in Cincinnati, I want to say, maybe at Memorial Hall, maybe? Or am I off on that? And she plays there every now and then. So.
Yeah, I don't know if we're doing that or not, but I have to look at the dates here if we take a break in a second. But yeah, and then I probably shouldn't announce it yet, but I'm about to be back in this area again with another woman-led band that just is about to release an album, and you can maybe guess who that is. Maybe I'll tell you off the air, but
okay.
I'm about to be back in the area again in June, opening up for them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll let people try to connect those dots.
Yes, it's not Allison Krauss in Union Station, but it's another band where there's 3 women, and they all lead the band.
Awesome.
And they're all stars in their own right.
And they have a new album on the way, I'm assuming, and they're going to be at Merle Fest, and they released a new single earlier this week, I believe. Yeah. So I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I think you are.
Folks can try to read between the lines on that one. So what we mentioned your songwriting. You've come a long way from Jacko Boy, but it sounds like you started out pretty solid. That sounds like a pretty good little tune. But when it comes to your songwriting as are you considered millennial like me, or are you a Gen Zer? What do you know? I don't know whether
1997.
I think that's millennial.
I don't know. I don't know if
that's
it is
borderline.
or not. I'm on the borderline.
You probably don't remember VHS tapes too much, do you?
Oh, I do.
You
yes.
do? Okay. What about cassette tapes?
Well, I am a special brand because of that, because my first car did not have a CD player in it, and so I had to take this whole bag of cassettes that my dad gave me, and so I have an experience with the cassettes,
see?
although that was not my generation, the cassettes. Yeah.
So, one thing that being a millennial bluegrasser, how does that influence your songwriting? Because obviously your lived experience is very different than your dad's or Carter Stanley's or Lester Flatt's. So what sort of juice do you try to bring to the songwriting table that makes the songs true to you and unique to you, but still bluegrass?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately with this style of music, I try to stay classic because I think of it as a classic style of music, and I try to hearken people back to a simpler time. But there's a song that, a bluegrass song on my new album that is coming out. It'll be out when the album drops on April 25th, called Till I Don't Love You Anymore. And it starts out with this line, I wake up, check my phone, splash water on my face. And I think of, that process as something that's very natural nowadays. And it feels, even though that might not have been a totally timeless thing, it definitely seems like it feels timeless now.
Feels universal here in the 21st century.
Yeah, definitely. So there's aspects of that of just being, living a normal life that I bring into the music nowadays too. Yeah.
The new song "Melt in the Sun" has been a hit already. People have really been drawn to that song, and we've both featured it on air just this week. So why don't you tell us about the single "Melt in the Sun"?
Love that one. Got a claymation music video for it on YouTube. Y'all got to go check that out if you hadn't yet.
Okay, how cool was that?
I was just wondering, is there ever been a bluegrass artist that did that? I don't know.
I don't know about claymation. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like Chicken Run or Wallace and Gromit, right?
Or I mean, I was thinking about like one of my early favorite rock and roll bands, Tool, has that. I forget which song it is, but they have this really scary claymation video for one of their songs. But I thought that was a great connection. I was working with my first publicist. She's not with Mountain Fever anymore, but Serena Isbell. She connected me with this gal, Chloe Tyler, and she has recently gained some acclaim for Wyatt Flores, the kind of country Americana singer, for his album cover and some of that artwork with it. Everybody's going, dang, this is some of the coolest artwork that's ever been seen. So I was excited to work with her, and I just think she created this wild world. It almost looks like somewhere between a Space Odyssey meets Dune or Beetlejuice or something, and but then add in a bunch of alien or extraterrestrial bluegrass instruments too in there.
What was your inspiration for Melt in the Sun for the song?
So I went to Bonnaroo for the first time in, I want to say 2022, and I saw War on Drugs, and I loved that band. I'd heard about them before, and I'd never seen them live. And after seeing them, I was just transported because, well, one, I was having a great time there, but also it's kind of like 80s sounding a little bit theme, but mixed in with a little bit of Americana rock, psychedelic rock and roll. And I loved that, especially recently where it seems like the kind of 80s thing is coming back a little bit into fashion. So that song was inspired by listening to them, as well as just classic old school mountain ballads, and kind of a combination or a juxtaposition of the two there.
Man, drop them big $3 words there.
Yes.
Yeah. Juxtaposition. I like it. I like the contrast and bringing those worlds together, because I know for myself, some of my favorite bluegrass is when you embrace that dichotomy of the traditional and the progressive.
Mm-hmm.
And country music and bluegrass both are built on that dichotomy, that dynamic tension between, Monroe pushing his music forward in new ways while still maintaining those ancient tones. Even like going back to 46, like that tension is what makes bluegrass so cool. And so many people want to just go all the way in one camp or all the way in the other. So when you can kind of straddle that line, good things happen.
Definitely. Definitely. And what I loved about that one too is that Aaron takes this wild break, and I think for the most part, most of the songs that I've recorded, I've tried to keep it between the lines, and I record a shorter version of the song, and then maybe when we go play the live show, we might extend the jam a little bit to get into that whole Billy Strings crowd or jam band kind of hippie crowd that's out there that wants to hear, or no, I mean, it's not even a hippie thing. You think about Leonard Skinner and some of those songs that they were 8 minutes long, and but trying to get into that on this track. I think this is the track on the album that we kind of were like, all right, let's
spread our wings a little bit.
Spread our wings a little bit. It's a little bit longer, and there's a little bit more of that jam in this, and that's what I like about it.
Tell us about the pickers on the record before we hear Melt in the Sun real quick. So who all's playing on the project?
Yes, so there's Aaron Ramsey, like I said, who was the producer, and he played mandolin, and then the amazing Jim Van Cleve on the fiddle. Jeff Parton of East Nashgrass played bass and dobro on there, and then Kaiser George of Shadowgrass played accompaniment guitar. I had never brought another guitar player into the studio on one of my albums before, but I was so stoked about that because he matched my rhythm perfectly, and we tuned the guitars differently or put a capo in a certain area to get different voicings, and it really added for this bigger sound overall, which I loved. The singers got Nick Goad of Sideline and my buddy Brooks Forsyth, who's a co-writer on a lot of these songs, and then Jason Davis, the amazing, immaculate. Like I said, I'm addicted to banjo.
He's a dandy.
Yes. And then I have some features that I can't wait for people to hear. They aren't released yet, but Ronnie Bowman and Junior Sisk and the Queen of Bluegrass, Rhonda Vincent, on there. So I can't wait for y'all to hear those songs with those artists. And the next single, Oh Lordy Me, is going to feature Junior and Ronnie singing verses on that. So awesome. It's going to be great. That comes out April 18th, I believe.
Awesome. MasonVi.com, I'm assuming, is the website.
Oh, yeah.
Vi is V-I-A. So check it out.
We're Via, but yeah.
He's going to get his guitar tuned up, and we're going to have him pick and grin on the air here in just a little bit.
Hi, thanks for watching. If you liked our video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and hit subscribe so you'll be notified when we have new videos posting. Be sure to check out some of our other content as well. Thanks for watching.